I'm a doctor, and this happened when I was in college. I should have been 19 or 20 years old. I have a habit of going to bed early for a nap after having dinner when I get home from school every day, and then getting up around 1 in the morning to read a bit, or finish any incomplete homework. Stay up until around 4 in the morning before going to bed. At that time, I learned to smoke, but my family always opposed and criticized me. I was not allowed to smoke at home, so I would take this time to have a cigarette since everyone else was asleep. One night, as usual, I got up at 1 o'clock because exams were approaching, and the end-of-term coursework increased. I decided not to sleep tonight, and to pull an all-nighter to work hard. At this moment, my younger sister suddenly came in. She knew about my habit, and that night she seriously told me, "When you go to sleep, remember to turn off all the lights inside and outside the house. Check all the doors and windows, make sure they are locked before you go to sleep, and don't forget." I was a bit puzzled, wondering why she emphasized this tonight, and only after asking her did she go back to sleep. Why? She said recently there has been a female ghost in a wedding dress appearing in this area. The ghost carries a lantern and wanders back and forth on the street. If she finds a house with lights on, she will curiously come to the door, so all the lights inside and outside must be turned off. I thought my sister was joking, because she knows I wake up at midnight to study, and sometimes smoke a cigarette. She must be making up this story to scare me into not sneaking a smoke. I disdainfully said to her, "We're past the age of being scared by ghost stories, and you're still making up these far-fetched stories. You just don't want me to smoke and fill the room with smoke, right?" But my sister replied seriously, "I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Just remember to turn off the lights and lock the doors and windows before you sleep." Then she went back to her room to sleep. Not long after my sister returned to her room, I thought of asking her. 1. Unfortunately, the pack was empty. I thought maybe I should just hold off tonight, but in the end, I couldn't resist. Since there's a convenience store not far from my house, I planned to go out and buy a pack of cigarettes. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning then, and it was very quiet all around. The houses next door were all dark, only the streetlights illuminated the road. Gradually, the air became colder and colder, and I felt an unprecedented chill down to the bone. This was very unusual, because there was no wind that night. It was summertime, and our city is in the south, so it shouldn't have been that cold. Shivering, I hurriedly ran to the convenience store, bought a pack of cigarettes, and started walking back. The piercing cold hadn't lessened at all, and besides the chilling cold, I also had a strange feeling of being watched. Was I being followed? After looking around and seeing nothing unusual, I felt even more scared. Could my sister's story have affected me? The more I thought about it, the more frightened I became, and I quickened my pace. Just as I was about to reach home, there seemed to be a figure approaching in the distance, looking like a ghost. I froze in place, my heart racing, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. The figure got closer and I could clearly see who it was. I saw that it was a woman in a white dress, wearing a translucent veil that covered half of her face, looking like a bride, and on her head, its hair could pierce through the body, floating towards the back. Its movement was hovering, and as it stepped towards me with the lantern, I became even more certain it was a ghost. I confirmed that she was the ghost bride my sister mentioned. Under the flickering lights, I could hear a haunting sob, yet her face wore a smile, stretching to her ears. With each step she took towards me, the temperature around me felt even colder. Scared stiff, I struggled with all my might to fight my fear. But all I could do was tightly shut my eyes and ask myself in my mind, "I'm going to find my sister, and give that rascal a good reprimand." I'm not a person who believes in Buddhism or religion, but at that moment, I recited all the Eastern Buddhas and Western gods I knew in my heart. It really felt like my life was about to end, and I was so scared I almost burst into tears. When I opened my eyes again, the woman was still in front of me, but the crying had stopped, and the smile had disappeared. She just stood there motionless, dead silent. I closed my eyes again, silently reciting prayers to all the gods. The gods did not respond, but the woman in front of me spoke. Her mournful and piercing voice kept whispering, "Where is my husband? Where is my husband?" She repeated over and over, her eyes starting to seep blood, and her voice grew louder each time, finally becoming a hysterical scream. I could only pretend not to hear, and focused on praying for divine protection. Suddenly it went quiet again all around. At that moment I hesitated, but finally opened my eyes once more. Thank goodness! I staggered, and the woman disappeared, along with the piercing cold. I immediately ran back home, turned off all the lights, and locked all the doors and windows. Staying up late to study was not feasible anymore, and I shivered under the covers all night. The next day, I went around asking people about the origins of the ghost bride. The local officer told me that the story dates back many, many years, to when a woman fell in love with a soldier. On the day they were to be married, the soldier was captured by the enemy, who also killed everyone in the village. The woman was the only survivor, but she was violated and left with no part of her body intact, finally dying with hatred. The only thing she left behind was a lantern her husband had given her. Since then, she would light this lantern every day, silently praying for her husband's early return. After the wedding, her resentful spirit kept wandering, constantly searching for her husband. Though I don't know if it's true or not, It was from that moment I decided to quit smoking. As a medical student, of course, I know the harm of smoking, but that wasn't the real reason I quit. The truth is, I was scared,